EDP 310 signature assignment by Brittany Barron. For this project, I chose the topic of emotions and decision making. So I wanted to discuss, why do emotions matter when considering how we make decisions? Emotions matter because they impact our body's functions and our body state, which in turn can influence our decision making. Which kind of goes into the next thing, which is, how does the state of our body influence how we might make decisions? A good example to understand this is, let's say you're selling cookies for a fundraiser and you see a family spending time in their driveway. Are you more or less likely to approach the family if they are smiling and laughing, or if they are in a heated argument? Most of us would probably say if they're smiling and laughing. And that's because if there is a heated argument, that can influence our emotions and have it be a perceived threat that we might not want to approach. This is important when considering the impact that emotions can have on our decision making, especially when looking at our day-to-day lives. So emotions can impact our everyday lives and decision making, and the state of our body can impact what we do, especially when looking at our performance. A good example of this would be, if you're nervous for an interview, you may not perform as well as if your emotional state were calm and confident. Or if you were going to go out to eat at a restaurant, you may want to revisit a restaurant which you had a positive experience at and it made you feel happy. So all of these emotions definitely play into decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, even very trivial ones, such as what kind of brand of cookie that we might want to buy at the grocery store. When looking at how we interact within society, not only do our emotions influence what we do, but the emotions of others around us can have an impact as well. And a great example of this would be with the cookie fundraiser situation. Even though we're not the ones in a heated argument, others' emotions can definitely influence our own. So we take into consideration our surroundings, our environment, people, and many other external influences. The reason I wanted to research this topic and my own personal interest is because I think it's important to understand our own thinking, especially when looking at metacognition, which Merriam-Webster defines as awareness or analysis of one's own learning or thinking process. It does have the potential to have us make more informed decisions, especially during high emotional situations. So, for example, let's say you're at work and you have a heated meeting where emotions and tensions can run high. Understanding how these emotions can impact your decision making can help you lead to more rational decisions that you'll be happy with in the long term, when maybe emotions are not running so high later on. Some important aspects that I learned while researching this topic is that the social cohesion state can have an impact on our decisions and emotional state collectively. So kind of back to what we were talking about before, about how external factors can influence our own emotions and therefore decision making, especially this can be seen in society. So during times of high tension, it can have an impact on the community as a whole. So for example, during high tension times like an election year, where there's lots of campaigning and deferring ideas on both sides, this can lead to a lot of tension and a lot of emotions, which will inherently impact our decisions. Another important aspect which I learned were emotions impact information processing and impacts a person's interactions with their social and physical world. And there are different outcomes associated with emotions related to being proud of what one has accomplished versus being proud of who one is as an individual. So, being in different emotional states can definitely impact how we interact with each other and how we feel, and ultimately decisions made. One other thing that was really important to me was the outcome of viewing future events while in different emotional states. And for this example, I'm going to use being in an emotion of anger versus sadness. So, the emotional state of being angry versus sad can have drastically different impacts on how we view future events. For example, being angry, we tend to blame others and take on that mentality of blaming those around us versus the situation. And we also tend to have low trust and low faith. Versus when being sad, we desire to change the current circumstance. We want to just make a change. And this can even lead to, when selling things, taking a lower bid or a lower offer than you normally would have. And here's my works cited for things that I used while making this presentation. Thank you, and I hope that you learned something.